Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. It's always nice when a corrupt individual or corporation gets their just desserts. More in our first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Slumlord won't let the company out of a 5-year lease. I get the building condemned. To start, this is about the company I work for and a trip I took because I had to wire a building for a computer network because the building's owner wouldn't. Backstory. Our company was moving a remote site to a new building. As the IT guy for the company, I was asked to look at the new building and get network ports marked out. The landlord refused to put in any low voltage lines, and we got quotes. But they were thousands of dollars. Enter me, my car, and 4 boxes of Cat 6 plenum. It's about an 8-hour drive, and I was doing about 30 drops. Not a ton, but a few days' work in some place that's already built up, and it's drop ceiling with insulation on top. Messy, itchy work. Story. Day 1. We get there Monday morning at the start of the month. It's actually a cool summer morning, and we're further south, so no one notices the AC not working for about an hour. Slowly, the building begins heating up. It gets to 80 by noon, 85 by 3 p.m. The rooms with floor-to-ceiling windows are greenhouses. It's absolutely miserable. We've been told by the workers still on site that the leasing company was told there was no AC in our building 3 weeks ago. The other thing is there are still workers on site. The building isn't completed. So much for being ready for a handover day 1. Day 2. We're getting agitated. It's 80 degrees in the AM when we first walk in. It's sweltering. The other guy that came up with me is the facilities manager. He's screaming at people over the phone to fix the effing AC. We're all exhausted from the heat by 3 p.m. I found a 4-foot hole in the ducting when I opened the ceiling tile. The AC was blowing, but there was no cold air. We're told the compressor is broken. Day 3. More of the same. Miserable in the morning, I'm finally getting the last lines punched in on the patch panel. The AC guys arrive about 10 a.m. They finally fixed the unit at 2 p.m. We asked them what they did. They said, a lot of things. We again said, what did you do? The reply was, we can't tell the tenants. Red flag alert. We contacted our realtor. She said she'd look into what was done. She sends an email later that night that says they changed the refrigerant from R22 to R410A. I tell the facilities guy, no way, dude. That's like putting gas in a diesel motor. They'd have to change out the entire system. They didn't do that in 4 hours. They basically duct taped and WD-40'd that thing back together, and it'll run poorly for a month or so, then give out, and we'd be stuck with a replacement. Day 4. Still no running water to some areas, still workers on site. The AC can't keep up with the noonday sun. It still hits around 80 by the end of the day. AC runs continuously. We're packing up all the stuff we moved in and moving out. I notice all the fire sprinklers look like they've moved, and the metal protection around the drop tile has fallen to the floor. The sprinklers are no longer protruding from the tiles in places, and others they're quite a bit lower than they were. Yep, the AC fools stood on the fire sprinklers to fix their lousy ductwork. We were looking for a friendly way out. We contact the landlord and say, you haven't delivered a finished building. We're moving out. The lease is broken. Landlord has a 36-page lease. Landlord won't let us out of the lease. It's 5 years. This is not starting off well. We get in contact with the corporate lawyer and the realtor. They both agree we're kind of effed. We're desperate for any way out. I start looking at the fire system. I used to run all kinds of low voltage lines, fire, security, etc., and there's no fire panel in our portion of the building. No smoke detectors are hooked up to anything. More red flags. One of our employees that was moving the heavy gear says, oh yeah, I meant to mention, I never saw any building permits anywhere. Ding, ding, ding. They did this build-out, including demolition, running new plumbing and power lines, and destroying the fire system without a city permit. Cue to call the city inspector's office. Day 5. I wasn't here for this part, but the facilities manager told me this. The city inspector pulled the permits for the building. There weren't any. He finds multiple violations of city code, red tagged our area, removed the certificate of occupancy. When I told him to check the fire system like you said, he just goes, "Oh, no. I have to make a call." He calls the fire marshal. Day 8, fire marshal arrives on scene, find no active alarm system in our portion of the building, red tag. Find the sprinkler riser for the entire building in our area, no water pressure. Condemned the entire building. Basically, they wouldn't let us out of the building because we signed a lease, even though they never delivered a building in any semblance of working order. Called the building inspector, got them smoked, who then called the fire marshal, who condemned the entire building. They're still trying to fight us over it, but we're pushing for them not only refunding our deposit and the rent, which they've already done, but for all the time spent moving gear in and out and all the wiring. Our lawyer says they don't have a leg to stand on, and he's happy for them to pay his fees as well. And our next story. Karen should have kept her mouth shut. So I work for a major UK bank dealing with the giving of refunds for missold payment protection insurance. Specifically, I'm on the team that deals with complex queries and unusual situations, as well as when the customer has further queries after we've sent our rejection or acceptance of their complaint. A few months ago, the part of our team that calls customers with issues that the normal call centers in India can't deal with was a bit shorthanded. And as I'm one of the most senior team members with knowledge of all the processes our team uses, I was asked to call customers to assist as I was having a slow day and my productivity is high enough that I can afford to spend about 2 days a week doing other tasks if need be. Most of these consist of, "Please explain why my redress payment isn't higher. Please, can you run me through how you calculated my refund, etc.?" with about 1 in 5 requiring specialist knowledge of a particular law or bank process. So enter angry customer, henceforth known as Karen. Karen had been offered a hefty refund sum, around £3,000, well above average, and we were currently in the process of paying it. Karen had rung us up to demand why she wasn't receiving £7,000 plus, as that's what all the TV adverts said. Apparently, we had deliberately lowered her payment because of reasons. She was kind of unclear. I explained to Karen that the TV adverts are misleading, that your average complaint handler has no control over the amount of money each customer receives, as things such as date taken out, time PPI was active, etc., are all taken into account and fed through a calculation program, which gives us a figure. Apparently, I was lying. Karen demanded that I withdraw her payment and give her a new, more appropriate offer. I explained to the customer that we couldn't just withdraw an offer, and if she felt she was entitled to more redress, she could take it up with the financial ombudsman, who would review her case. Regardless of their decision, her payment would be going ahead. Karen wasn't having any of it and demanded I look at her files and personally pay her a bigger sum. Rolling my eyes, I humored her and did a brief scan of her files. Oh, what's this? It looks like Karen was declared bankrupt about 15 years ago, and both the initial contact team and payments had missed it. To be fair, it was kind of well hidden, and your average employee wouldn't recognize it. For those who don't know, being bankrupt affects you for the rest of your life, as even when you're discharged, you just go into a less bad bankruptcy. The only way out is to pay back every last penny. Anyway, for PPI, this means she's not entitled to any redress, and furthermore, isn't even allowed to make a complaint. Normally, procedure in this case is to inform the customer that you'll arrange for a colleague to call them back in an hour or so, and then to consult with the insolvency team. The insolvency team will then call the customer back to explain the situation, how it relates to their specific insolvency, and the steps forward. In this case, her offer would be withdrawn, and she'd be told her available options. However, I run the insolvency team, and all complex insolvency queries go through me. This means I'm authorized to proceed with the call as is. Karen's in the middle of another rant when I'm looking into this and is demanding that I withdraw her payment and send her a letter with the amount she deserves. As I said before, normally I'd run the customer through the situation and explain what their options to claim the money were. For Karen, though, I apologize to Karen, polite as can be, and tell her that, yes, I will be withdrawing her payment and sending her a letter detailing her new redress. Karen huffs and complains, "It took me long enough," and then hangs up. I delete all of her redress off the system, close down the payment memo, then send the most bare-bones withdrawal of offer, due to bankruptcy, letter I can. Normally, I fill in a lot of extra details so the customer finds it easier to understand and understands everything. They're rarely happy, but they understand why we have to take that position. However, we don't actually have to do that as per the procedure. Off goes the letter, first class, as the customer did seem like she wanted her new amount quickly. I congratulate myself on doing exactly what the customer wanted. Karen wrote in a few weeks later whining, "I ensure the item is routed to our team that reissues letters. This ensures that the exact same letter is sent out along with a covering letter saying, 'Please find and close the requested information.' After all, no point writing a new letter when I've already answered the query once." And our last story. Homeless guy takes a cruise. Back during the first Gulf War, my wife and I were engaged and had a wedding and honeymoon cruise to the Caribbean set up. All expenses paid, food, transportation, etc. On those things, they have all-you-can-eat buffets and a nice dining room. Both of us were active duty military. Well, the military announces that they're sending her over to the Gulf. I stayed stateside, but had leave canceled. They ship out 3 days before the wedding/cruise. We were able to reschedule the wedding, caterer, flowers, reception, DJ, they were all cool. So I called the cruise line and asked to reschedule. They said no, and the tickets were not refundable. I tried to explain we were active military going to war. Nope, no deal. I talked to a supervisor. Nope. Asked the military to help out. No deal. We knew nobody in the area and none of our family could take the cruise. We were effed. So we went to nearby San Francisco, went to the worst area, and found the dirtiest, most malnourished homeless 2 people we could find. Lice, bad smell, shopping cart, the whole thing. Gave them the tickets and told them to eat well. The only caveat is I wanted them to send me a postcard so I knew they went. Gave them a stamped, addressed envelope. Got a nice card from Martinique. I bet the cruise people were bummed. Fantastic. I truly hope they ate and drank to their heart's content. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.